Yeah, let's do it.
Let's get old.
Let's get old.
All right. Well, welcome to Film School Dropouts, everyone. A movie podcast in which each season, I can't say each season. I don't know if you've noticed. I really can't say each season.
Each season?
We cover a director's full filmography. This season, we're covering the films of M. Night Shyamalan, and welcome to our final episode. Right. Yeah. And a lot to get into on this one. Today's episode's on Old, his latest and greatest, the brand new release at the time that we're recording this, but this will come out a ways down the road. So old. Time to get old. My name's James, and I'm here with my rapidly aging, I don't know, son.
Sure.
Brent. I don't know.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good.
Feel a little old.
Ooh, you're feeling old?
Ooh, I'm feeling a little old.
You got a little crick in your hip?
Ooh, I'm getting a little old here. We better do this podcast quick because I'm getting old.
I mean, according to that, the movie's rules, we're on a very tight budget.
Yeah, because we are recording on that beach. So
live.
Yeah.
Coming to you live.
Live from the beach that makes you old. It's Film School Dropouts. Oh, man.
How'd you feel about this movie?
Oh, we're going to get into it. I think we should do our little movie segment first. And then
first and foremost, since this is probably the newest movie that we're going to be covering on this podcast for a while, I think we should give a fair spoiler warning.
Oh, yes. I mean, by the time this episode comes out, it'll have been quite a few weeks.
Still, even though
this is going to be a big spoiler episode for sure. Yeah, you're right. No, that's very fair.
Because I wouldn't want this spoiled. Anything.
No, many spoilers ahead. But how about little movies? I'm going to go first because I got one that I'm sort of excited about.
Let me have it.
Okay, so I was just scrolling through the Criterion channel the other day. I was like, I just want to watch something kind of artsy, whatever. And they have fuck off. They have yeah, exactly. Yeah, you go to the 90s and I go to like the art house cinema. They have a neo-noir like collection that they just put up. I was like, oh, cool.
You watching Criterion is like Criterion putting up a neo-noir.
True. Yeah. It's just like, of course. Yeah. But I watched 1975's Night Moves starring Gene Hackman.
Okay.
Oh, listen, this is just, it was one of those movies where I just kind of went weak in the knees as soon as it started. Because I was like, yes, baby. It's like trashy. Gene Hackman plays like a sloppy drunk detective with like 5 o'clock shadow and a mustache. And he's awesome. He's just like, his wife's cheating on him. He's got to go solve this crime. And, everyone's terror. He's just bumbling around. It's really dark. Like not in like, oh, it's graphic. It's just sort of like Gene Hackman is so sad in the movie. And you're like, man, this is a bummer. Like this guy's just sort of like a drunk, sad detective. His wife's cheating on him. The case is a bummer. And the movie's just super dark. I loved it so freaking much. And it has this amazing line that I'll just sort of read off. Basically, the scene is Hackman and his wife are arguing because he caught her cheating. He throws a glass into the sink out of anger. It shatters and it goes down the garbage disposal and he turns it on. And the garbage disposal is rattling. It's really loud. And they're screaming at each other. So the scene is super chaotic, right? And then she yells, can you turn that thing off? I can't hear myself think. And he gets real quiet and he gets real sad. He turns it off and he turns it to her and he goes, lucky you. And I was like, damn, that is the darkest shit I've ever heard. Where he just says, you're lucky you can't hear your own thoughts. Like, oh, dang, dude. And the whole movie just had that going for it.
That's the line of the movie right there, isn't it?
Lucky you. Yeah. I loved it. And also at the end, it did make me think of you because there's like a really sloppy fight scene where it's just like two dudes who are overweight and obviously alcoholics, and they're just panting out of breath while they're throwing each other around the beach.
Yeah, that's I'm a sucker for a good sloppy fight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Night Moves, man. So good.
I'm also a sucker for Gene Hackman, too. I love him.
Yeah, every time he shows up on any movie, I'm like, all right, we're in Hackman hands now. We're good.
I think it was like a couple months ago. I just like happened to Google like what he was doing because I just wanted to know if he was still alive and like, doing good.
He went quiet.
He's getting up there, you know.
He's 90, I think, 91.
Yeah, it is 2021. I have to keep reminding myself of that.
Who's got eyes on Hackman?
Right. Yeah. So my movie is from the year 2006. Oh wait, I wanted to know who directed Night Moves, and would we have a chance?
Arthur Penn, I don't think so. He's got two, like he did Night Moves and he did Bonnie and Clyde, which is like, okay. But then he's got like 20 movies that are sort of, they don't really exist. They're just, yeah. So I don't think we'd cover him.
Okay.
Arthur Penn.
So my guy is Wayne Kramer.
No clue.
Yeah, I think he also did, normally I write down what else they did, but it was one other small one. Oh, it was The Cooler with William H. Macy, which is and Alec Baldwin. It's not bad.
Okay.
But I chose with this one because he only really has those two movies. The rest are kind of blah, whatever, nothing. This is called Running Scared from 2006 with Paul Walker.
I have questions.
Yes.
Is this a remake of the Billy Crystal?
I think it is.
Running Scared? Is it like a buddy cop movie?
I think it is a remake, but it is not a buddy cop movie. The tone is much darker. Much more violent. It's to sum it up, there's basically Paul Walker plays this protective dad or protective guy. He is trying to get this gun back that was used in like a cop killing.
Oh, okay.
And basically the gun gets into this kid's hand and the kid runs away. And basically the whole movie is him trying to track down and get everything back to normal. And throughout the night, there's just weird encounter after weird encounter. Visual, it's pretty cool. There's a really neon scene that's like visually stunning. I don't know.
No, that's my shit.
Yeah, one of the encounter includes like a pedophile couple.
I don't think this is a remake. I think it's just another cop movie called Running Scared.
Okay, because I did see there. Yeah. But yeah, I think you should check it out if you haven't seen it. Ironically enough, like I think it was like the day before Paul Walker died. This was on TV and I was watching it. I own the DVD.
Okay.
But yeah, check it out if you haven't.
Running Scared.
Yeah, it's fun.
Interesting.
Yep. I don't think we're definitely not covering Wayne Kramer. I don't think The Cooler and Running Scared. That's just
that's about all. That's about all he's got to offer.
It's not enough to qualify to get you on here. So
that's all right. All right. Well, I mean, we got that out of the way. You ready to get old with me?
Dad, why are you looking at me like that? What's happening to us?
My daughter just turned 6 2 weeks ago.
Mom?
Whatever's happening to us is happening very fast.
You have wrinkles. There's something wrong with this beach.
What's happening?
Mom! Mom! I'm scared! We have to get off this beach.
People are blacking out going this way.
If she makes it to the ledge, she might have a chance.
Why is she stopping? Why is she stopping? Carol, wake up! Wake up!
They have to know what this place does.
I don't know! You're lying!
Look!
What is that?
A message.
We never leave each other. Nothing separates us.
We're connected to something bigger.
Oh no. We're here for a reason.
I was thinking real quick. Remember how your executions thing?
Yeah.
I God forbid. I was so.
You want me to do it again?
I was so against it, and then I think I came across a guy that I want to slice off our list.
Brent's pulling the axe out. Oh no, Brent's got a big axe. What's he doing with that axe?
I don't want to watch any movies by Kevin Smith.
Yes. Hell yeah. You don't know how much joy that brings me.
I went over his
He's off the list. Garbage.
I've watched like
garbage.
Yeah, it's just
you want me to cover here? I'll cover Kevin Smith's filmography. He made some like goofy comedies that everyone thought was like groundbreaking, and then he tried something else, and everyone was like, "No, you suck." And he's like, "Well, I guess I'm only doing Jay and Silent Bob for the rest of my fucking life," because that's his whole filmography now. He has like 14 nerds that he entertains, and that's his whole fucking like. Oh yeah, get Kevin Smith out of here. I'm glad.
I don't even think Clerks was that good, really.
No, Clerks is all right.
No, I mean, that's it, though. It's just all right. It's not like...
Get him out of here.
I I saw Red State. I was like, oh, maybe I've given him multiple chances.
I actually like when he's like, I'm going to do something weird now. But every time he does that, it bombs, and then he gets really scared and then goes back to make like some sort of, he just goes back to get Jay and Silent Bob like another movie. That's all he does.
So basically, it came down to if I wanted to skip Tusk or not.
I mean, I like Tusk.
I know that's the only one where it's like,
no, but then we would have to cover like
the rest are not.
No, it's not.
I'm not trying to watch Dogma and like, even though I didn't hate
Chasing
Dogma.
Amy.
No, I'm not. I'm
not watching that. Get out of here. I'm
so rats. And
you know what? I'm glad that you have brought the axe back in the season finale. And going forward, I will take the axe back from you, and I'll get back to chopping because you've made me so happy today.
Well, no, see, this is what I didn't want you going on a massacre here.
I took all of season 3 off. I didn't execute anyone all of season 3. I've been a good boy.
I was looking at, he popped up in something I was watching, and I was like, Kevin Smith, like, I don't know. I just hit up his IMDb and I was like, I'm good. I think I'm good on this.
Hard pass on his whole filmography.
Like, as much as I love seeing Justin Long get turned into a walrus.
Love that. I love that movie. It's so goofy.
No, I know it's good. It's good.
All right. Well, no, let's talk old.
Yeah,
let's talk old.
Let's talk old.
So this is the first time you and I have ever covered a movie that's like brand new, fresh in theaters.
Yeah, I mean, when we watched it, is it opening weekend for it?
I think second weekend. Yeah, because I mean, by the time this comes out, it'll have been much longer. But
yeah,
we're recording this basically the second weekend it's come out. We did not go to see this together, so I don't know what your thoughts on this movie are. You don't know what my thoughts on this movie are, which is a fun dynamic. So I don't know.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I think I know both of our standings on this movie.
It rules.
I did enjoy this movie. Yes.
This movie's so good.
Yeah, this was a trip.
I loved this movie. I can't stress this enough. I think this is his best movie since The Village. I love this movie.
My rating was going back and forth, but it was tinkering. We'll get to rating.
We'll get to it.
This is a great comeback from.
Yes. No, I think he's been on a comeback since The Visit. I think he did The Visit. It was a solid, like, return to form little indie like horror movie. And then he comes out with Split. It's a sequel to Unbreakable. I think the movie's very good. And then he almost he kind of is obliged to make Glass to like round out the trilogy. So like Split and Glass, as much as I like those movies, it does feel a little bit like, okay, I see what you're doing. Like, you're going to wrap up your trilogy that you wanted to do. That's fine. Like, let's, the movies are good, but like, I'm more curious to see what you do next. And then he comes, he takes me to the beach, baby. Yeah. And I was like, okay, he is back. He's back. All right. He's got his groove back. I'm good.
I mean, I feel like I can confidently say that this is one of my favorite movies of his, for sure.
Top 5.
Easy. I like this better than Split and Glass, for sure.
I agree.
More than The Visit, more than Devil.
That's why this is the best thing he's made since The Village, I think.
Well, my first note is just how much of an amazingly original concept this is.
Yeah, so I think this was based off of some graphic novel, which I've never read, called Sandcastle, I believe. And I don't know, he must have like saw something in that story. I don't know how much he deviates from it, but
so let me correct myself. Amazingly original film concept.
No, regardless, like M. Night, he took it to the finish line, baby. Like, this is definitely a lot to unpack here. So the movie stars Gael Garcia Bernal, Vicky Creeps from Phantom Thread. She's back. We get to see her again. Alex Wolff, Thomason McKenzie, Rufus Sewell. It's kind of a stacked cast, like in terms of up and coming exciting people.
You're forgetting one person.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
You know what? I loved it. It maybe is my favorite cameo he's done, and I'll get into why, because I actually, like, as soon as I saw what he was doing, I was like, ooh, that's good stuff. But it is a little bit much. It's a little hammy, it's kind of like super on the nose.
He's a full-on player in this movie, like
to a degree. He kind of bookends it. He's not really in the middle.
Every time I saw him up there on that ridge with binoculars with that purple shirt, it kind of took me out of it a little bit.
Oh no, I love that. Let's get into this freaking movie. So the plot of Old Is there any more
it opens on the family driving to some resort.
Yeah,
you got it's a very luxurious resort with like how many, like
fancy.
15 guys waiting to get every single thing you could possibly need, with drinks luxurious. Right off the bat. Were the drinks drugged right off the bat?
Yes.
With because that's the fruit or whatever. They're like engineering some sort of vegetation.
Well, I mean, that is like the end of the movie, but yeah.
But then you see the vegetation in those original drinks as soon as they're greeted at the resort.
The drinks are supposed to be like the cocktail of like medicine that they're giving to them to test.
Gotcha.
Right. Yes. I mean, the only thing, do I want to talk about the things I don't really like about the movie first, maybe? Just so I can
we can just go through the plot like
okay, like normal.
Yeah.
So, Gal Garcia Bernal and Vicky
you meet the big four. The big four. That the family is the focal point.
Right. But Gael Garcia Bernal and Vicky Creeps are married, and they have 2 children, some teenage girl and the funniest little kid.
Oh, the little knowledge boy.
I like him. M. Night has always been very good with kids in his movies. I mean, like Sixth Sense, Haley Joel Osment, Unbreakable. You got the little kid in Unbreakable. He's great. Signs is a great kid movie. Like, the 2 kids in that movie. I think the only time he kind of misfires is when he does The Visit, which I love that movie, but the fucking kids in that movie are so annoying. Oh God. But I mean, great little kid action in this movie. He's funny, he's cute, he's a little kid, he's nosy, and
there's a lot of good comedy in this movie.
At least in the opening part,
once
it doesn't really the comedy gets sucked out once you realize what's happening, and you're like, oh Jesus Christ.
The opening at the resort, because it gets filled pretty quick with this rising tension.
Ooh, yeah. So all right, let's lay some things out here. Back in episode 1, I compared M. Night to Hitchcock, and I think that's a pretty obvious comparison. Hitchcock, the master of suspense, and M. Night totally deals in that that realm. He's very, very indebted to Hitchcock. I think this is, at least in terms of like the setup, maybe his most like Hitchcockian movie, because people can peg M. Night with being really clumsy with his dialogue in order to like get across what's going on. Like, he's not super clever or like nuanced when it comes to like, okay, these characters need to say these things to set up the dynamics. M. Night's more of a guy who's like, okay, we just need to get everything out in the open so I can get on with like the fun stuff. And I honestly, like, Hitchcock was better at it because it was just, I don't know, he's Hitchcock, but
more atmosphere.
Yeah, but like even like the setup in the very, very beginning of the movie is they're driving to the resort. The little girl in the back is singing, and Vicky Creep says, "Oh, you have such a lovely voice. I can't wait to hear you sing when you're old." And like, it's the most obvious. Yeah, it is very eye roll and very like obvious, but I don't know, like that's some shit Hitchcock would do. He would set some shit up like that just to. I mean, Psycho. When you watch Psycho,
I agree.
Every character is talking about their mother for the first like 20 minutes of the movie, and you're like, "There's a lot of mom talk going on. I wonder why." It's more definitely done, but yeah, fuck it. Let's get the exposition out and go, baby. And I like that.
Yeah, I mean, that one out of the whole movie was the most on the nose, and it was right off the bat. So It's like that's what he was saying. There were tons of other like sit up, honey, telling to fix your posture. There's
honestly all this shit on the beach. Every time something would happen to someone else would yell out loud, like medically what was going on, just so we could all follow it. And it was sort of clumsy, but I liked it. Whatever, I'm into it. Because I think the most like glaring one is the girl with the calcium deficiency, which like when it started happening with her, I was like, wait, what's her deal? And like, oh right, she has a calcium thing. Okay, cool. But her final scene, which is insane, when they're like, oh, her bones are healing before they can reset. I'm like, no one would say that out loud, especially not a 6-year-old kid. But now that you've said it and I'm visually able to see it, that makes it much more intense. Because like, without saying that out loud, he doesn't have any other way to like set that up in an obvious way.
I know, it just feels like he's playing like, I don't know, softball with the audience. Like, give us some credit. That's a huge Achilles heel of his. Well, more than most of his other movies, I feel like this is kind of playing to the crowd. Like, this is a crowd pleaser movie.
It kind of is. Yeah, it's very like not action packed, but it's very like it's got a lot of momentum, and it does sort of try to just keep you hooked with It's almost like Saw, where you're just waiting for the next death to happen. And you're like, what's going to happen? How's it going to happen? Like it's sadistic like that. I like
and it's compounded to the ton by the nth fold because of the ending. I mean, the ending is crowd pleaser for days, like.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I'm not. There's some things that I like a lot about the ending and some things where I'm like, okay, M. Night, you're just being M. Night. Like, I'll pat you on the head and like, that's fine. But we'll get to the ending in a little bit here. So yeah, they all go to this fucking resort. You like, again, a lot of this shit is doled out in like the most clunky exposition, like just someone saying it out loud so that the audience knows that it's happening. But like, yeah, they all want a resort like getaway for some reason. And then you start to meet other people on the resort.
You get introduced to the supporting cast. You got like this surgeon, like super doctor.
You got Rufus Sewell,
who needs a break from cinema's hectic life.
Rufus Sewell, who is cinema's dark reflection of Jude Law. He's just like evil Jude Law. He shows up in anything, and you're just like, that guy's kind of a scumbag, and he kind of sounds like and looks like Jude Law, but whatever.
I can kind of see it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he has Jude Law's voice, like verbatim. I think like before you see him, you hear him talking in this movie. I'm like, did Jude Law show up for a cameo? And oh no, it's Rufus Sewell again. Okay, got it. Yeah, he's like some surgeon guy. And he brought his mother, right? And then
his elderly mother.
And then
you already know this ain't gonna go for her.
She's gone. She's already old. Oh no. And then he brought his vain wife.
Yeah, super vain. I think it's their daughter.
Yeah.
Although, like, it's the way she, I don't know, once it all starts happening, that dynamic between her and her daughter
gets real
weird. It just disappears. Like,
it gets weird. Yeah. She's
so vain to the point where she just kind of stops caring about her.
As soon as her vanity takes over, it's only her looks that she's worried about.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. And then you got like this Asian guy.
Also, he's a nurse.
He's a nurse, and then his girlfriend is a therapist who has like epilepsy.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, like I went into this movie knowing pretty much nothing aside from like the conceit of the movie, which is like the beach makes you old.
Yeah, I mean, I try to, especially with like horror movies, I try to. It's tenfold with an M. Night movie. I try to watch and know as much as possible.
Right.
So like anytime even the trailer would come on, I'd be like, I'd look away,
Yeah.
Because I just didn't want anything ruined, even though
I think I only saw the trailer once.
I did. Obviously, you understand the concept. It's like, oh, this is
honestly the trailer freaked me out. Like when you saw the little kids go off screen, and then they came back as fucking Alex Wolff and Thomas and Mackenzie. I was like, whoa, that's a crazy idea for a movie. So that's like all I knew. So when they are starting to set up all these dynamics of all these like supporting characters, I'm not really looking for anything. So I honestly didn't even clock the whole thing where, she had the calcium deficiency, the other one had epilepsy, and Rufus Sewell's dementia doesn't really come into play until they're on the beach. So like the reveal of the movie is that like the beach makes you old. But what's really sadistic about it is specifically people who have ailments. So their ailments are like hyperactive and they like break them down immediately. That's what's crazy about the movie. It's not just like, oh yeah, they're getting old. It's like, oh yeah, they're getting old and Vicky Creeps' tumor is growing and growing and growing. And oh my God, they have to rip it out. Like, oh Jesus, it's growing. It's so crazy. So that's the whole conceit of the movie. It's like sick people getting old.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty awesome twist when I found out that everyone had a sickness. Because you find out about the epilepsy right off the bat.
Yeah, but I didn't really.
Honestly, I thought Rufus Sewell, the way they were saying at the resort, right when you kind of meet him, that he needed a break. I was like, oh, this guy's going to have a heart attack for sure. Okay. I did not think, and I was very happy that he went with just dementia. Mental. Yeah. Instead of the outward physical decay, his brain was decaying. And
I gotta say, I think Rufus Sewell is incredible in this movie.
I wrote down great performances, so I liked them all.
It's It's
except
tough.
for M. Night, because I just want an actor playing that role. And
okay, let's get into the M. Night thing. So M. Night plays essentially the valet who takes them from the resort to the secret magic beach that makes you old. I actually love that M. Night is playing this character because first of all, this movie is twisted, it's fucking sadistic, and it's cruel. The movie is so cruel.
Well, quick before you even get there, what's the little boy's name Alex Wolff plays?
Yes.
This is a big thing. At the resort, he meets this little boy and they form a friendship, and
they're
like,
adorable.
Oh, yeah, it's great. It's funny. They decide to be friends because one kid doesn't have any friends. They're telling secrets. It's just fun. It's a fun scene.
Yeah.
And this little bond that they form turns out to be the key.
It pretty much is. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. We shouldn't brush over that. I also like since his I'm just like calling it the comeback, but like since his comeback, M. Night has sort of moved away from doing like melancholy and like his first 4 movies had like a sadness to them, not counting the first 2 movies. I'm talking about like the first actual 4 movies.
Oh, the first 2 I was very sad.
But yeah, like the first 4 movies have this like sadness to them. They're very dour, and like they're dealing with real emotions, and they're getting these like big movie stars to play these emotions in a way that are like really tangible. It seems like since The Visit, M. Night has been like, let me cut all that out. Like we're going to go like purely for the thrill, and it's going to be like really stripped down emotionally. So I think when you get to this movie, there's not honestly like, I think the worst part of the movie is every time they try to get me to care about the divorce. I'm like, yeah, all right. Like, this is fine. Like, this isn't doing much for me. They don't have like a ton of chemistry. Like, whatever. This isn't what I'm here for at all.
No. Oh, see right there. I loved those scenes, even though like that just talk about what they're going through, and just, the divorce happened before. And like, just like even when Thomasin McKenzie's talking to the rapper, and
Midsize Sedan.
Yeah, Midsize Sedan.
Shout out to fucking Midsize Sedan. Got a huge laugh in my theater. And then off screen you hear Gal Gadot Bernal. He says, "Is Sedan his surname?" Such a good joke.
Yeah, it's funny. I laughed a few times in the movie. Like, yeah, M. Night was flexing, but no, I like. I like those little scenes.
I think the end they're really good. But
the cherry on top is when obviously, well, we'll get to it. Should I say it? I always do this. I'm like, oh no.
Who cares?
Well, just the cherry on top is, when I need to know the dad's name. I'm not going to call him the full actor's name.
The character's name is Guy. So that's
it is Guy. Yeah, when Guy is talking to his wife, and he's like, "I don't care," and they're just so old. And
no, I love that scene. That scene
is
like
so money. It's like, so good.
Like I was sort of not out,
and she plays such a good old lady. Like she looks like she's like the makeup
there's
is
so
great.
Much going on. The makeup's fucking incredible. If this movie doesn't get nominated, which it won't, I will be mad, and I will be. But the makeup's incredible. It's so subtle, and they must have done so much work like over the course of the movie. Like, okay, we gotta bring you in and add like another 4 years to your makeup. Just little tweaks here and there.
Oh yeah, it's
never over the top. It was never over the top.
And this is probably my favorite. Well, it was good. It had moments where it shined, but M. Night did these long pans where you would get the entire cast on the beach, and he would slowly go over them so you would see.
Oh yeah.
And he did it constantly throughout the movie, because that every time he did that, they looked a little bit older.
Oh, it's so honestly
good. And he got so many close-ups on the face, on everyone's faces, to show off that
trick that he does, where it is like a long, like kind of he'll either like push through a scene, or he'll like pan across a scene, but they're really long, and then they come back, and it's really simple. He this just goes all the way back to us talking about how good he is at blocking and like this camera movement. It's so simple. And then as the movie progresses and things start to get worse and worse and worse, that trick becomes scarier, like to the audience. Like later in the movie, when he is panning down the beach and it's nighttime, and Vicky Creeps is like walking down the beach and she falls, and then you pan back and you're like, oh fuck, like every time is just evaporating around them. Like the trick is so good. It's so effective.
Well, that's why, the trick is so good because every time he's just doing one of those pans, like according
Years
to the
are
movie's
dissolving.
rule, so it's crazy.
It freaks me out.
It's great. That's pretty much where this movie's like money and bread and butter is just this constant building suspense. It's like you're just waiting for everyone to just get picked off one by one.
It's kind of a slasher movie where time is the fucking
it's absolutely a slasher movie.
And like
there's two final people, like
you're right,
albeit you don't get the normal. Well, you do kind of, the slasher movie, the final girl runs through the house and sees all the victims. That's the stereotype. You see the victims. They just spread out differently.
Okay, so really quick, I want to go back and I want to just talk about their relationship, because like the mom and the dad, Guy and Vicky Creeps, are gonna get a divorce because she found out she has a tumor and like whatever. There's not like a lot built around that. I think Gael Garcia Bernal is one of the most exciting actors working. I love whenever he shows up. It's not very often, but I love him. I think he's kind of hammy. Like, he's really big in this movie. He got a couple laughs out of me, but I was surprised that he was giving such a, like, I don't know, like, everyone else is so like toned down in a way that's kind of reminiscent of Yorgos Lanthimos, where like they're almost giving like deadpan sort of, like it's not super emotional the way that these performances come through. It's visceral because things are happening around them that are terrifying, but it's weird that Gael Garcia Bernal like is sort of doing borderline like a comedic kind of goofball dad thing in the beginning. And then he gets sidelined very, very quickly. So it's like, but I mean, I love earlier where he's like, "Oh, it's no kids week. Well, why didn't you look this up, honey?" Like,
oh, it's great.
Oh, but that's their relationship, is they're possibly going to get a divorce. And then, I don't know. Do you want to go to the beach? All right.
You see Vicky Crepes give him like this. She's watching the mother or the father of her kids play with them. Like that should be like a normal, they're on vacation, should be a nice moment for her, but the camera like focuses on her face and she's very flat faced, and this is where the somberness comes in, because I'm like, what's going on with her? Why is she not happy? Right off the bat, you can tell there's something. And then it culminates, I think, before they even get to the beach, with a shouting match later on in their hotel room, where you see a very good scene of the sister like kind of
holding their brother.
Yeah, and like this is when you learn about their little coding activity.
Yeah,
and so I don't know. It felt very tied in, nice.
I was gonna say I got very sidetracked, but the reason I was talking about how like I just think that The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable are so much more like vibrantly sad than this movie is. This movie is like twisted.
Oh, like said. No, Sixth Sense is there. You won't see anyone smiling.
right. But like this movie doesn't have as much of that, where it's like so clearly like, oh my God, the crisis, all these, none of that. I do think there is an incredibly tender moment in this movie that like is honestly like, it sort of knocked the wind out of me, because I wasn't expecting it in this movie or an M. Night Shyamalan movie at all. But it's really simple. It's just the scene where, God damn it, is his name Trent? Is it Trent?
Trent, the son?
Yeah, is it Trent?
Sounds familiar.
I'm looking it up. It was Trent. Okay, so it's when Trent and fucking his buddy, like Idlib or whatever his weird name is, they're hanging out, and Idlib, I hope that's his name, whatever. The buddy says to him, like, "Nah, you're just gonna like go home and I'm never gonna talk to you again. Like, I don't have any friends." Or it's even more devastating than that, because I think they're saying something like, "What would you wish for?" Do you remember this scene?
Or yeah, like, it starts just like, let's tell a secret. Tell me a secret.
A secret. That's what it was. Yeah, let's tell a secret.
Like, I have no friends. Your turn.
Oh, I have no friends. Like, I was like, oh my God, like that's so sad. And then when he explains it, and then you kind of realize like, oh, this kid lives on this resort. People come and go. He doesn't get to like stay in contact with any of them. This poor fuck, like how sad. And honestly, like it really like knocked the wind out of me. I thought it was very authentic, and the kid killed that scene.
Well, I just loved the son's rapid response. He's like, "I'm your friend."
Oh, he's such a good kid.
Such a good kid.
Such a good kid. Oh man. All right. So then now I need to talk about why I like the M. Night Shyamalan cameo. And then we can get into the fucking meat of this thing.
I will, before you get to that,
yes.
how the hotel manager, they're like having breakfast. There's a couple times you see them like putting out flowers and whatnot. And the whole time I'm thinking like, I don't know, I'm just waiting to see how often they're replacing flowers. And like, is this like, I don't know, there's something beneath the
what
surface
was with those
going
flowers?
on here.
I don't know. Maybe it was just a weird thing where he was focusing on
they're purple,
something.
so M. Night, I don't know.
Yeah, he's very color coded.
He loves in purple, but the manager comes over to their breakfast table, and like any vacationers would do, he's like, "Hey, I have this private, very exclusive beach. This is like, you got to get in on this." And then right off, so obviously they're all like, "Yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it."
And I'm like, "Oh no, don't go to that beach."
And then right off,
you know, this is already catching me off guard when I see the movie, because like I'm not expecting it to be a thing where like I expected the movie to be these people go to this beach and something's wrong with the beach and it makes them old. I did not expect this added layer of like there is an organization who are like culling people and they have control. And I mean, like,
we'll get there,
I didn't dislike that at all. I was just like, when he was like, "Oh, you should go to this beach," I was like, wait, there's a guy who's like controlling this? That's fucking crazy. Like, I need to know about what this dude's doing, which we find out. But yeah, that was an interesting like surprise to me.
That's the big twist of the whole thing. That's twist of the movie, right?
I'm going to say it's not a twist. I'm going to say, I think people use the term twist with M. Night way too liberally. I don't think it's a twist unless it's something that recodes the entire movie you just watched. I think this is just a very good reveal. It's not like you find that out and you're like, "Oh, that changes everything about the movie I just watched." It's not like that. Like the signs reveal, it's not a twist. It's not a twist that the aliens are allergic to water. It's a reveal. He's like just adding like one more thing at the end. But the Sixth Sense twist is definitely a twist because it changes everything about the movie.
Yeah. I mean,
anyways, that's just me going off about everyone. Like, I feel like in his entire career, he has had at most 3 twists.
So, like, if they were to get rid of that whole subplot, M. Night's not up on the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
There's no company. It just happens to be a supernatural thing.
Well, that's a little disappointing because then there's just like no conclusion to the movie.
Other than that, they're robbing the guests, maybe?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't dislike the end of this at all. I think it's good, but
he made sure to, like, I feel like, other than finding out where these rocks, because that's the big thing, you find out that the rocks are the reason for the aging up of their cells. These rocks are like,
yeah, I'm going to write this down. I want to revisit the whole science of this movie at the end of it.
Well, we just don't know where the rocks came from. That's it.
Okay. We'll get to that because I want to talk
also about how a pharmaceutical company discovered this location before any government, but whatever,
it's fine. Okay, I love M. Night's cameo in this movie. I think it's very good. He plays the guy who drives them to the beach, and he's like, "Hey, I'm taking you to the beach." I immediately love this because I think this is one of those movies where M. Night is probably, working on it. And he's just having such a good time torturing these characters while he's like writing it and directing it. He's like, "Oh, dude, I get to have so much fun, like doing all these cool kills and stuff." I love that the movie is literally the director of the film getting in a car and taking them to their doom. And then he's like, "All right, well, see you later." And then he gets to go up and watch his creation unfold for the entirety of the movie. I love that. I think that's great. I think more directors should do that. That shit rules. That it's just like, oh, is that director M. Night Shyamalan just watching the movie on the Hill Club? That's kind of cool. He gets to see it too. That's nice. I think it's sadistic, man.
I mean, I get it. I get the symbolism and whatnot. It's like, but I don't know. It just took me out of it. It's like, oh yeah, there's M. Night.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm used to it at this point. Like, I know when I go to see an M. Night movie, he's going to show up in some capacity. At least
I feel like I liked his other ones. Like where they're small and
I was gonna say at least it's not as bad as like Lady in the Water, where he has like a major plot point that's just all him. Or I think he's really bad in Signs because he has like such a huge role and he is not up to the task of acting next to Mel Gibson. And it's like, all right, well, that kind of took the air out of this scene, but whatever,
that's the only thing. As an actor, he's just flat.
He's pretty flat, yeah. He's better in a cameo role.
But
this is like an extended cameo.
He probably the character's supposed to be mysterious and flat like this,
No, he's just bad at acting. But I just love the just the idea that M. Night is like, cool. Hey, audience, it's me, M. Night Shyamalan. I'm gonna take the main characters to the beach now, and then I'm gonna go watch with you, and it's gonna be fucking crazy. Just buckle up.
And then I'm going to be the reason why everything falls apart for the company.
Yeah, he didn't wait long enough.
He didn't wait long. If that's not the biggest, if you take him out of there, everything still goes according to plan.
I do love that he's like, I waited like a minute and a half. It's not going to be like last time. And it's like, okay, so you fucked up last time, obviously. He's fucked up before.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh God. All right. So they go to the beach, and now we get to they go to the beach, and now we just get to have a lot of fun. Yeah.
For the rest of the movie, it's them pretty much figuring out what's going on.
Yes. So you meet Midsize Sedan. He was on the beach before them. He's got really bad nosebleeds, and his girl that he came out there with is floating in the water, and she's dead. And you're kind of like, what the fuck just happened there? Right? Like it's immediately like a murder mystery for a second.
So I was trying to place them. When were they out there?
I think they were out there the day before.
So
or at least the night before,
or maybe the morning.
The morning of. Yeah, that could have been.
It's got to be.
Yeah, they can't have been there for more than 10 hours.
That's what I'm saying. He would be an old man.
Yeah, and the little girl recognizes him right away. So he's at least the same age that she recognizes him as. It's Midsize Sedan. His name is Midsize Sedan. That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff.
Get to the beach, and we're just meeting all these characters.
Yeah, one by one, everyone shows up. All the characters we set up before show up.
Yeah. Then right off the bat, they the first thing that happens is the little boy bumps into.
He finds the dead body.
Is a nice little jump scare. You see it floating towards him. Always good. Creepy.
Yeah, really good.
Always, he screams there. So there's a little investigation. There's obviously the stereotypical white guy starts blaming.
Right. Rufus Sewell is like pretty openly, just like the black guy did.
Yeah. Default, just like,
yep.
We got to watch him. So there's a little investigation. And while that's happening, his mom starts having palpitations, and she's like, oh, I don't feel good. So now he has two problems to worry about.
Yeah, well, things go bad really quickly because they find the dead girl, and you're like, okay, this is rough. Like, okay, now things are starting, and they all kind of calm down for a minute. They're like, okay, we just got to call the hotel. We just got to let them know what happened. This is not good. And then the mom dies, and he's like, oh fuck, because like she died of shock or whatever.
And with the most that's the most heart-wrenching thing to tell me. Before you go out, she tells her son to help them through this.
Yeah.
And
oh God.
Okay.
I'm just so excited to talk about this movie. Okay. So Rufus Sewell they get to the beach and they all start aging rapidly, right? Like that's what's going on here. Okay, folks, we all know it. And it affects all of them in such vicious ways because they're all sick in a different way. But
Rufus Sewell is the chief of medicine. He's been in charge and been a badass his whole life.
Right. And now he has some sort of dementia.
This situation is getting out of his hands quick. And
when is the first time that he says, oh, what was that Jack Nicholson movie with Marlon Brando? When is the first time he says that? Because right away, when the first time that happened, I was like, oh, fuck, what's wrong with this guy?
I think it was like...
Is it the epilepsy scene?
No.
Or is it when he's like...
she doesn't have epilepsy on...
the beach.
Yeah.
Right.
Not until the very end. But right. I think it's when they're about to operate, cut open Vicky Krieps.
Right. Okay.
Because it's like, whoa, you got a scalpel you're about to do that, and this is not the right time to be movie trivia.
Right. Yeah, no, I know. Like my girlfriend Jessica turned to me and she was like, what's the movie, James? I'm like, fuck, I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know. So okay. Might be a little. I should have known. But. It's like the Missouri Runs or something like that. Some weird movie, but this is going to be a little out of order, but I just really want to go through what happens to all these people because it's fucking gnarly.
Okay.
So first thing first, old mom dies, whatever. That sucks. She's old. She died of shock. That's what you're led to believe. Then the dog dies just out of nowhere. Right.
Yeah.
At some point during all of this, M. Night's doing all of these scenes where he's got the camera behind the two kids and their voices are now different.
Oh, I know what time when they're like, they do
first
a little
reveal that they're getting older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're talking to the epilepsy lady.
Yes. They're talking to her and like, yeah, she's like, how old are you? And he's like, I'm 6. And she's like, the fuck you are? You're like 13 years old.
Yeah. You're joking with me.
Yeah. And then, Vicky Creeps comes over and she's like, where are my kids? And they're standing right there. And yeah, what a devastating thing to find out. Like, wait, my kids just aged like several years and they're like big now. Like, what the fuck? So that's that's another thing that happens early on.
But it's great that you don't see their faces and you just
he holds off for a long time.
Yeah, you do, but you kind of see them from the back of their heads, and I think at one point he shows like Alex Wolff's leg, and it's like, oh yeah, that's way longer than what. Well, used to be.
There's a shot of like Thomas and Mackenzie standing up and walking forward, and yeah, like her like bikini doesn't fit anymore. And you're like, that's like a fully grown woman right there, you know, like, so there's all that. And then the first like major intense thing when they start to piece things together is when they have to cut her tumor out, which is a crazy scene.
Yeah. Wasn't expecting, honestly, I went into this so blind to the point where I thought they were all just going to get old.
Same here.
I didn't think about like how people get old and and that's, I didn't think that obviously cancer grows at a super crazy rate. Well, you see what time does, and it's growing by the within 2 minutes, they go from referring to it as a golf ball sized tumor to a softball sized tumor to like a cantaloupe sized tumor. Mm-hmm.
They use those 3 references within like a really short amount of time. That's how fast it grows. But yeah, like that's the whole thing of this movie is like, I thought it was going to be a scary movie about people getting old. And then it took me way too long to figure out what it actually was. Cause like, even when she was getting the thing pulled out of her, I was like, whoa, that's pretty crazy. And then the next time something happened with a sick person, I was like, holy shit, is that what this whole movie's going to be? It's like him fucking around with ailments like this. And of course it is.
It was.
Yes. The tumor scene's insane.
Is it? No, I love the tumor scene. It blew my mind.
You see people like healing immediately and they have to like put their hands in to block the skin from healing.
Because the cuts were healing so quick, they got to cut the same spot. Even them cutting the same spot twice. I was like, I don't like that.
Nope, that sucked.
And then you get guys saying, oh, it's healing. It's healing around my fingers.
Yes.
Like he couldn't even, that's how.
Oh man. Yeah,
but then when they finally pull that thing out, it's like, oh my god, it looks like an egg, like a Yoshi egg,
humongous. And I was so upset looking at it. It's great.
But then you get that the look on her face, like the color returns to her skin,
and she just immediately goes, "I feel better.
I feel great," or I feel better.
Yeah.
Oh, and she was happy. I was like, dang, it worked. So she's gonna be around for a while.
Okay, and then they go back. Midnight Sedan goes back and like he looks at. He goes and pulls the blanket off the girl who died earlier, and she's bones now.
Bones.
And it's like, oh my God, it's even getting them there. Like, that's crazy. So yeah, we get the tumor pulled out.
That's why there's no vegetation, there's no fish, there's no animals, there's no nothing.
They just die.
Nothing can survive
right
on this beach.
At some point they find, this is the only part of the movie I did not understand. At some point the kids find like a pile of like silverware and like belongings and like a pile of sand, and that's where they find the journal.
Yeah,
didn't really understand that.
It's just because the hotel can't go in and collect it, so they just have to leave anything.
Right, but how did it get there?
Whoever was there before, whoever died, because the hotel,
like, whose journal was that? I'm saying because there's a journal that like explicitly states like a bunch of names that they're going to call to bring to the hotel, and like the journal has like a bunch of information about like what's happening there. Like it details like the magnetism of the rocks. I don't know how any of that shit got there.
Plot journal. Just some old guests left their stuff, and then he died, turned to dust.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So all of this is happening, and I'm like, at this point in the movie, I'm kind of like, yeah, this is really good. I'm really enjoying this. Like, this is
digging it.
I'm digging it. That's the good way to put it. I'm really digging it. Then the little boy turns into Alex Wolff. Now he's a full-grown man, and it's the scene of him and the other family's girl. And they're laying in the tent together. And they're talking about how like their minds are also growing. And like,
within a half a second, the audience is like, this isn't good.
Exactly. Like I'm looking at the scene. I actually think the scene is really good because he's got his hand. They're laying next to each other, facing each other. He's got his hand on her shoulder, and they're talking about how like their minds are thinking of new things. And you're like, oh, they horny. And then
I'm seeing new colors. And
it's oh boy, they horny. And then it cuts to her, and she says some things. And then when it cuts back the other way, his hand is now on her hip. It's like moved down to her hip, and you're like, oh boy. And I'm thinking, okay, this is where I just want to like frame where I'm at in the movie. This whole scene's happening. I'm like, oh boy. My girlfriend Jessica turns to me. She's like, they're gonna fuck, aren't they? And I was like, I didn't say anything. I just kind of like sighed and was like, okay. Oh boy. Like M. Night, you're fucking playing with dynamite here, man. Let's be careful with what you're doing. I didn't think they were gonna fuck. I was like, I don't think he's gonna go there. I just don't think so. Then you cut back to the other group. Some other stuff's going on for a while. They're arguing about something or whatever. And then finally Vicky Creeps is like, where's Trent? The camera gets this really long shot of Trent and the other girl, and they're walking out of the tent. And I'm like,
well, first, no, before that, yeah. They stop and eat. And she just smashing pasta salad.
Oh, right. They're just down in it, right?
Just down in it.
So I'm still like, at this point in the movie, I like it, but I'm like, okay, he's not going to have them have sex. Like, I just don't think he's going to do that.
Can I mention how much I loved that?
The pasta salad?
Because it shows them that they're still they still have they're like childish thoughts, even though
I think aside from like Thomasin McKenzie, who is an incredible up-and-coming actress, I think she plays the childness like perfectly because she's playing a little bit older. Like what is she, like 12 or 13?
Yeah, I thought he
mentally
was 6 and she was 11.
Okay. So she's a little bit older. She's a little bit, got an idea. I think she plays it perfectly. I think Alex Wolff plays it so damn good and like in a funny way. He's doing it more like comically, whereas Thomasin McKenzie is playing like someone who doesn't understand their emotions, which I think is great.
I think they're both going to be superstars. They're both excellent, up and coming.
Listen, Thomasin McKenzie is in my, like, if I had to make a list of all of my favorite Toms in Hollywood, she's top 5. I love Thomasin McKenzie.
See, and I just have Alex Wolff on this pedestal ever since Hereditary.
Yes.
And I can't bring him off.
Yep. He killed it in Pig.
Yep.
This is the summer of Wolf.
Wow.
Okay. So, yes, they eat the pasta, whatever. You cut back to the other group.
I thought they were going to bang.
I feel like I
did not.
Oh, you didn't expect the next scene? So here's the thing. In my mind,
should have.
This is what was going on in my head. I was like, well, he's not going to have him have sex because then he's going to have her, like, there's going to be a whole pregnancy thing. And like, that just makes sense if like, and like, there's this famous episode of Fringe where like a woman has like a really fast pregnancy and gives like birth to this baby that ages really quick. And it's been stuck in my brain forever because it freaked me out. But like that was playing around. Like, I don't think he's going to go that route. It just doesn't seem like his thing. And then they come out and you see her belly and it's like, immediately I was like, holy, like the whole scene, I just was like cringe, like in a good way. Like I was like, oh my God, he is doing this. And guess what, folks? The scene, he knocks it out of the park. I think it is like, as soon as you realize what's happening and he follows it to its logical conclusion, as illogical as the scene is, he follows it to his logical conclusion, which is so dark. This scene is so fucking dark.
It's so dark.
God. Okay. So this is all happening.
My very first note after I got back from the theater, because I'm not going to take notes in the theater.
No, right.
Holy childbirth, Batman!
Crazy. The scene is crazy, and he's doing those panning shots where he's tilting the camera around because she gives childbirth here. The baby obviously grows really quickly in her womb because that's the concept of the movie.
Her belly grows and grows and grows. They're like, oh my God, and to the point where,
and she still has the mentality of like a 6-year-old because like they're like, oh, you're pregnant, and like you hear Alex Wolff say, oh, I thought you had to do that like 10 times. Like he doesn't understand, and she's like, no, I'm not pregnant. I just got kind of fat. Like she doesn't understand either. Oh, it's so dark. And
this is where I was like, okay, because her mom. Dips at this point.
Yeah, she sucks.
Like she just forgets. She doesn't care about anything to have to do with her daughter or anything. Man. At this point, she literally tries to run. They can't leave because any direction they go, they keep trying to go through the cave.
Yeah, there's this barrier because it essentially honestly, this is one of the things where they just dumped exposition on me, and I was like, yeah, no, I like that. And it's basically like when you go deep sea scuba diving, you can't come up super fast because the pressure is so different. You'll fuck your head up. And it's the same thing. It's like time is dilated like more and more the further you get to the beach. So you can't just leave the beach because time will like crush your head and like they pass out, you know. I really like that explanation. Anyways.
They tried that's how, spoiler alert, the Asian guy dies.
Yes, I think so. I think what happened to the Asian guy and the blonde girl from the beginning is they tried to swim away. The time dilation made them black out and then they drowned. That's what I'm assuming.
That's exactly what I think too.
Okay, cool. Okay, so anyways, the pregnancy scene is fucking crazy.
Well, I just couldn't believe the mom, as all this is going on, everyone's trying to help this young girl have labor. You see her, they're panning, and you see her just jet for the cave, and then when the pan comes back around, she's passed out on the beach again, and they're like, you can't do that, you can't do that,
so good,
you can't go that way.
Well, yeah, and while that happens, so yeah, you're right, the camera's tilting around and whatever, and then when it comes, you know, you can hear her giving birth now because they're starting to work through the fucking labor, and then you hear the baby crying, and then you hear the baby stop crying, and immediately like the camera comes back, and like the explanation for how the baby died made me so sad. I was like, holy fuck. Everyone is aging super fast in this movie, right? The baby is born. They set it down on the towel for a second, and that is long enough for it to die of like being
lack of
attention. Because like if you leave a baby alone and don't touch it, it'll just die because it needs to be nourished and it needs to be like touched, and you know, and they set it down on the towel for like such a short amount of time, but it was enough for the baby to die from lack of attention.
Brutal.
Like the whole scene, I'm like, holy shit, he's doing this. Oh God. Okay. All right. Let me buckle in. Let me, okay. Let me get ready. Okay. Well, this is crazy. Oh, and then when she said that, I was just like, Jesus, M. Night, you just went so dark, dude. Like,
yeah. So I'm trying, as a viewer, I'm trying to deal with that. Yeah, exactly. Alex Wolff, he's like, oh, I have to deal with it. Like, so he dials it to 11.
He does.
Like, dude, kills it in this scene. His breakdown.
Oh, so good. Whew. Okay, so that's fucking crazy, right? So that's all great. That's the craziest scene in the whole movie.
This ends up in turn having a very bad effect on the girl's health because of what just happened, and she tries to climb out because they haven't tried climbing.
This is a little later in the movie, but yes, this is what happens to the young girl.
Well, I mean, at this point, you got Rufus Sewell. He's off in the corner, right?
He's like off in the corner talking about Marlon Brando staring at a wall, and then he kills Mid-Sized Sedan with a knife.
He's tried to slash a couple people at this point, and he kills Mid-Sized Sedan and just starts. It cuts over to him just going ham on his chest,
going psycho on him. Yeah. So Kara,
his mental decay is complete.
The mental decay thing is so good. But Kara, who is like the girl who gives birth, she tries to climb up the wall, and they're rooting her on. You're like, oh damn, this is some good ass rock climbing shit. I was like impressed. And then of course she falls to her death because she passes out.
As soon as Guy said, oh, if she makes it to that ledge, she might make it.
You're like, no,
she's not gonna make it to that ledge.
And then every now and then while this is all happening, you get a quick cut over to the ridge across, and you can see M. Night just staring at him through the cameras.
Don't remind me of that.
And I love it. Okay, so Kara falls off the ledge and dies, right? Mid-Sized Sedan gets stabbed to death. He dies. The baby gets born and gets left on the towel. Dead. Easy. Done. We haven't really started to deal with people who are dying from their ailments yet, though. Because they cured Vicky Creeps early in the movie. They took care of the tumor. So she's sort of safe from like dying from that, right? But we still have the blonde girl who has a calcium deficiency and Rufus Sewell who has dementia. Those are the two who like left alive. Oh, I guess we still have like the seizure girl. The seizure girl just has a seizure and dies.
Yeah. So at one point she throws an offhand comment like, I haven't had a seizure since I've got here. It must be something on the beach.
Right.
So he does such a good job of planting all these seeds.
Yeah.
And then at the end you do get the explanation for it all, like, it's pretty good if you ask me. That's what I'm saying. It's crowd pleaser. It checks off like every box. Like you're not wondering anything.
It might not be the most elegant movie ever made, but it's all in there. Like whatever. He got the information in there. And I think it's pretty satisfactory. So yeah, she dies from the seizure.
She ends up having like
a really bad seizure.
Well,
a really long one.
It keeps stopping and starting.
That's what it was. Yeah, it keeps like stopping and starting.
It was horrific.
Yes.
It was absolutely horrific how she died, because you just felt so bad for. There's nothing you could do, and you knew it was coming for her.
Yep.
You know it's coming for all of them.
Exactly. Yeah, because they do figure it out. Like pretty early on.
The big suspenseful thing in this movie is, okay, everyone's going to die. How are they going to die?
Right. And like they have like a group huddle pretty early in the movie, and like they're like, okay, oh, so you have a sickness, you have a sickness, you have a sickness, you have a sickness. We've all been invited here. Like, that's really cruel. Whatever. This has obviously been engineered.
Rufus Sewell just needed time for a break. Oh yeah, God, right. So good.
Yeah,
so good.
But yeah, you know, like they learn pretty on early on what's going on. So like, it's not like a surprise to them either. But we're basically at the point now where the only people left alive are Sewell and his wife, and then the main family.
I think that's one of this movie's strengths, is how logical they were about like kind of discussing and coming about to their conclusions, realizing, oh, like there was a lot of
like 3 or 4 of them are doctors.
Yeah.
And like Vicky Creeps plays
a nurse, and then the chief of medicine.
And then she was a therapist. And then Vicky Creeps worked in like this museum where she like understands like decay and like it. Yeah, I don't know how, but whatever. She has some working knowledge of it.
Yeah.
And then poor guy is like an insurance agent, and he's just like, yeah, we have a 99% chance of dying or whatever. Like, he just has a percentage of bad things. Useless information, but sure, go ahead, guy, you got to do what you got to do. He's
in great shape though.
Yes, yeah, and he's super hot. Okay, so now we just got to talk about the last 2 deaths that fully fucked me.
So it's nighttime at this point, right?
Yeah.
The only 2 left are Looney, Rufus Sewell,
and the blonde girl,
his wife, who we haven't seen in a while.
Right, she's gone off into the cave. You get glimpses of her where like she starts to get a hunchback because of the calcium like deficiency, and like she's starting to age, and she's like, she goes into a very like, I'm a monster, don't look at me kind of mode. She kind of like sulks off into the caves.
Well, you do get one scene before that, because this character is probably the weakest, if you ask me. You get one little part earlier before she starts being decrepit, where she talks about having regret and not following a lost love and settling, and basically settling for wealth, right? That's kind of what her deal was.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. Yeah, that wasn't.
It wasn't. Yeah,
it's not much. She might be the weakest character, but she has the gnarliest death.
So it's nighttime. At this point, Rufus Sewell attacks the parents.
He starts attacking. Yeah,
and they tell the kids to run.
And like Gael Garcia Bernal, because he's getting older, his eyesight is it's going really fuzzy. They keep cutting to POV shots with him, and everything is really fuzzy, so he can't really fight back because he can't see anything.
Was that not one of the most devastating scenes?
It was, because I was like, oh, whoa, was he going blind or something? And like, yeah, no, it's just like, no, sometimes when you get old, you lose your eyesight. It's not like a crazy degenerative disease like other people have. It's just like, this is a thing that happens.
Yeah, but to me, I was like, oh no, can't
see Vicky anymore, and he's like reaching to touch her face.
I thought M. Night did such a good job of making me like feel like I was safe with the parents. And then once she started decaying,
and then Vicky has that scene where she puts one hand over her good ear,
and they were back to back, so it's like no, and I was like, oh God, like they're not safe anymore. That means I'm not safe. It was great how he did that. And once the parents started losing, I was like, oh, this is not going to be good.
All right, fuck it. So I need to talk about this scene in the cave. So the kids go into the cave. I don't remember why. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
They told them to run.
They're hiding in the cave. Yeah. And then you see the blonde calcium deficiency girl. She is throwing rocks at them because they keep looking at her and like lighting a match to see what's going on. And she's like, don't look at me, because she's all ugly and shit.
Yeah.
And like, she looks sort of like Gollum, you know, she kind of looks gnarly in the cave. And then there's a really crazy scene where she picks up like a pretty big rock and then it falls and lands on her arm, and you just see her arm fucking snap downwards, and then he cuts out of that really quick. He's really good about like showing you a brief glimpse of violence and then cutting away to like make it last in your mind a little longer.
Wasn't it all was CG? I didn't see any practical.
Yeah, no, this is the most CG heavy part of the movie. Yeah,
That's
I mean,
why
how else do you do it? You know,
I don't. How did they do half the stuff they used to do? It's
true.
Just,
I mean, that's the thing is they don't do shit like we're gonna listen.
Obviously, it's cheaper to do it this way because you don't have to guess and like experiment.
It isn't always cheaper. Like CG's not cheap, man. But
I mean, it's getting cheaper. Like
I guess so.
As time goes, it's
one day we will cover David Cronenberg, and like he is the master of like prosthetics and like physical crazy shit that like doesn't make sense when you look at it because it's all practical. Unfortunately, that's just not how people do movies anymore. And it sucks. But like, yeah,
every once in a while, let's not. There are some there's some that still will do some practical.
It's rare. It's very rare, but. This whole scene, I like it is all CG and it doesn't look great, but I think I was just able to like the implication of what was going on was more frightening to me than like visually what was going on. And then when you get the final shot, I'm like, yeah, no, that all worked for me pretty well. But yet she breaks her arm and then like she like falls down. And obviously at this point, like her bones are brittle. She turned into Mr. Glass from Unbreakable. And she starts crawling towards them in this monstrous way. And one of the kids says like, oh, her arm healed before it gets set back in place. And her arm is just all jacked up, like jacked up behind her. It looks like a zigzag. And I'm like, ooh, that's gross. And then she like writhes around in pain and like flips over and like breaks another limb. And she just keeps like breaking limbs back and forth and they keep healing in place. And like, she just looks like a human head and then a bunch of scribbles like of limbs. And I was like, oh, that scene's so gross. And like one of her fingers was out of place. Oh, it freaked me out. I thought it was so like, that is some good ass body horror shit right there. I was like, oh man.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that's a cool ass death. I was
it's crazy.
I would, like I said, the CG looked a little weird to me, but
it is a little wonky, but I don't know. I didn't think it was like outright bad.
And it's like they already had Rufus Sewell be the one that is losing his mind, you know? Like obviously, maybe she went off the deep end.
She went off the deep end because of her vanity. That was just sort of, I don't know, like her character's so weak because it's just like, oh yeah, it's like a pretty woman who only cares about being pretty. Like that's all you got for her. So
I feel like they could have did more with that. I don't know, but I get it. Whatever.
Okay, then Rufus Sewell.
It was cool ass death, and it was gnarly. And the final
shot. I think Rufus Sewell's death is the last one. Because this is the scene where Vicky Krieps like grabs one of the rusty knives and cuts him with it and explains like, I just cut you with a rusty knife. Like when that shit gets into your bloodstream, you're donezo. And that, you literally see him rot, which is crazy.
Yeah, tetanus.
Yeah, no, he got fucked by tetanus.
His body got overtaken and
it
looked like
not the way I want to go. Let's just put it that way.
He was still like writhing in pain there for a while. Like I wonder like how long he could live with that, but he got screwed because it spread down his arm
too quick.
And then right when you could he was like, wasn't he clutching at his chest? Because
I think so,
because tetanus, I feel like it messes with the heart real bad.
I think it gets right into your bloodstream. I'm sure it goes right straight to your heart.
So he started clutching. I was like, oh, he's done.
He's done. So he dies. And then you get honestly like a lovely scene that we talked about earlier where the parents talk about their affair.
This scene messed me up.
I really love it. I think it's beautiful. They talk about their affair for a second.
This scene messed me up more than the tetanus.
What part of it messed you up?
Just it messed me up like moving as far as
it's very moving. I thought it was very. They talk about the affair for a second, and then
I don't care.
The scene is great.
Fighting about something?
I don't care. And then she like leans it and puts her head on his shoulders.
Why does she look so perfect as an old lady? I don't like.
So the whole movie, I'm like,
with that little smile.
That's what the whole movie. I'm like, yeah, Vicky Krieps is pretty good in this movie. And then at the end, when she's playing old and like half deaf, and she's doing that thing. She's doing that thing where she like that old people do, and she does it so perfectly, where they lean in and smile a little bit to hear you better.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Why do they both kill that? And he's smiling at her.
She's killing it. And then she he just sort of tumbles over and dies of old age. And then Vicky Creeps gets up and like walks towards the beach, and that's the final pan shot where it goes across the beach, passes her, goes into the water. You hear her fall, and then it comes back, and she's dead, and like she died in the sand. Like they just die of old age together.
Yeah,
it rules. I really like it. I like it even more now that I'm talking about it. Like
it messed me up, dude. It messed
really
me
good.
up.
And so now we got to talk about the end of the movie, which I think is a little sloppy, but yeah, whatever. I like it mostly.
Well, yeah. So it's morning time.
They're kids are being played by new actors.
Yeah, the kids are like 50 now, or like
a big complaint. Should have got Stanley Tucci for this last part.
Isn't that like budget Stanley Tucci?
Probably. They probably couldn't afford him.
Discount Tucci.
He looks just like Discount Tucci, and I was like, would have been cool if they got the Tucci for this last scene, but oh well.
Well, it's Stanley Tucci. Come on.
I would have loved it. Anyways, yeah, they're like old kids now. The two kids are the only ones who survived. They're old. And the next morning, he deciphers the last code from whatever his buddy he never really got to.
Well, even before that, they're like, should we even still try to escape? And like they try a little bit, and then they're like, "You want to just build a sandcastle?"
I love that. I do love that.
And I was like, "Yeah, fuck
he like
it."
holds her face for a second, and she goes, "We just aged 3 days while you were holding my face." And they like laugh about it, and then they're just like, "You want to build some sandcastles?"
I feel like
cool.
a line was missing there. Like that's a good 3 days or something.
Oh yeah, well, you're right.
Whatever, and
would have been good. You're right. No, yeah, they just build sandcastles for a minute.
Love it.
It's pretty charming. And then he's like, yeah, while we're doing this, I'm going to like decode this final one. It says like my uncle doesn't like the coral. And then they think like, oh, let's try to swim through that coral reef over there. And essentially it acts as like an insulator from the time dilation. So they can swim through the coral, and the coral is like a lead tunnel that won't let that radiation of the time dilation get through. And they're able to get out.
Like a little buffer tube. They keep talking about a tube.
Yeah.
My thing was, what's with like the divine crack?
I didn't understand that because it didn't seem to have anything to do
with anything.
With like it didn't. The crack didn't even help them get out. He ends up just breaking a piece of the coral. Well, I didn't understand the crack in the wall. I don't know. Maybe I missed something. But
the whole thing with the escape or whatnot. I don't know.
Whatever. I honestly didn't even need to see. Like, I don't know. It was fine, but. The real like reveal at the end of the movie is the hotel is a front for this science corporation. They discovered that like this beach has this weird like mix of like magnets in the ground and minerals in the rock that like dilate time. And they've been using the beach to take sick people and test them there. And it saves them like years and years of testing because they can do it all in a day because of the way time is there. Right.
Yeah.
So that's, whatever. And they find out like, okay, the woman didn't have seizures for like 16 hours, which would have been like, essentially she was cured. So they were like, oh, we cured the epilepsy thing.
So let's talk about that for a sec. Imagine if it came on the news and they were like, boom, we just got this drug that cures epilepsy. You don't know how they came about it. They're like, science has gotten us this, boom.
Yeah.
You'd be all
like,
about it.
I'd be like, must have been an old beach or something. No.
Right. So you'd instantly suspect the old beach.
Yes, exactly. I actually really like that one scene. Like there's a lot of like the end of this movie is very like M. Night being like, okay, now I get to explain everything. And like, here it is, roll credits. It's not super rewarding in any way. It's just sort of like, oh, okay, that's what it was. I do love the like cynicism of that scene where it's the like young nerdy guy comes out and he's like, oh, and we cured it. And this cocktail worked. We were able to cure her of her epilepsy, and everyone's applauding. And like, I just feel like he holds on the scene long enough for you to remember the terror that these people just went through and how none of these scientists were on the beach. They didn't see any of this horrible shit happen. They say like, okay, let's take a minute of silence to appreciate their sacrifice. They have no idea the absolute horror of that beach. And I love the cynicism of like people congratulating themselves over like their accomplishments and just, the brutality of that movie.
Yeah. I liked I at first I was like, I don't know how I feel about the ending. That's one of my notes is like, but I think because it does check all boxes. Like,
yeah, it's good enough. Like it's not one of his best endings by any, it's an okay ending, whatever.
I understand why they're doing it.
I think the movie rules so hard in the middle that I'm like, even if the ending is like subpar, it's like, I don't care. Like that.
So here's my thing. It's at that moment, the villain was shifted from the crazy beach itself to humans.
Yes.
And I don't know. I like it. I like that terrifying ass beach that just traps people forever.
Me too. I do like the like almost Twilight Zone approach to what that beach is. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And it's just,
it's a little neat to be like, oh, it's an evil science corporation. Oh,
it's very neat.
Yeah.
That's why I said crowd pleasing. But like I said, it didn't hurt it too much. Like I still had a great time. Like I can't stress enough that I had a fun ass time watching this movie.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So like whatever. If it took an evil science corporation to
you were on the same page. I think the middle of this movie rules so fucking hard that like by the time everything is wrapped up, I'm like, oh, like even before they get to them like swimming away to the coral or the science corporation being revealed, I immediately was like, oh, there's no real good ending to this movie. Like I was just like, there's not really anything he could do right now that would be like, I mean, I'm sure there is. It was just like one of those things where I was like, oh, I kind of see where he's going to go with this. And like, that's fine. Like, I don't need it to be amazing or anything like that.
Well, because he tied it, the reason he went with this route with the evil science corporation, because it does give you food for thought. Like it makes you, it's that quandary of sacrifice little for the gain of,
right. I mean, I love the
trolley,
there's
trolley
that,
problem.
but I also love the comparisons you could make to animal testing. Like you could really like this whole movie can just be like a crazy metaphor for like what we do to animals to make our shampoo better. You know what I mean? Like there's stuff you could draw on that is a little bit more metaphorical or like allegorical rather. And I like that. And like, I don't hate the end of this movie at all. It's just a little neat and a little bit, okay. Doesn't take away from how much I like the movie.
Well, I'm going to have to I don't know. I was so in love with this beach as a villain. Like I was riding
the beach.
Anytime I saw those freaking binoculars, I was like, I
know the binocs are good. I don't think the beach, like, I don't think it loses value as like a sinister force because it's still just this natural thing that they found, right? Like they didn't build the beach.
Oh, I love the beach.
Me too. Let's go to the beach.
Although it's like, honestly, I think the reason why I love it so much is because it's terrifying. Like I already hate like how much time is flying by right now,
right?
And the fact that
we've wasted 2 hours on this podcast.
So think about it, that's like, what would that be there? Like 3 years of my life gone,
right?
Or something? Like that's crazy. I don't know, but loved it all.
Yep, pretty much. So you ready to rate it?
Yeah, we can rate it.
Give the rating on that one. Go, you go first. What do you got?
Wait, before you even rate it, how did you like? Because he deliberately goes away, and you get the subplot after they disappear. You don't know if they're going to survive the coral, right?
Yeah. Yes, so you do. Like,
I know.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like the way he cut and didn't show us,
and he does like the really dramatic thing where like they've been underwater for 45 minutes, and then they're still giving each other like longing glances, and you're like, all right, let's go. Come on, we all know they're going to make it. Let's just come on.
Right, they were panicked like a quarter of the way in there, and yet they still win. Like anyway. But then the next time you see them, they're at the hotel, and it's like the dramatic thing, the reunion with the kid.
Yeah.
And it's just like, the kid just brought down his father accidentally, and it's like,
none of this did anything for me. It didn't do anything bad, but like them showing up at the end, I was like, all right, whatever.
Doesn't that say something? Like that the ending was just
no. Well,
you had such a good time at the beach. You didn't care about anything else.
Here's the problem. Yes, exactly. I had such a nice time at the beach with my friends. Here's the problem with the end of the movie. It already has a perfect ending, which is them sitting on the beach together. Like, you know what I mean? Like the family sitting on, even if it's sad, that is such a remarkably like good scene. And like, you could have cut to them being 50 years old the next day, like just looking out at the beach, and like then cut to like M. Night Shyamalan. You know what I mean? Like or a film by M. Night, whatever. And I would have been like, yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. You know, I didn't need the over explanation of everything. Like either I could have drawn upon that myself or I just flat out didn't need it. I think the ending, the emotional ending of the movie is where the movie probably should have ended, which is the whole family like forgiving each other and like, you know, learning to love each other again. That's the good stuff.
And instead you get like the final shot is back with them escaping, and like it kind of zooms out of the beach and the water and them in the water, and it's supposed to be like, oh, they made it.
Right.
So it's like a little out of order and whatnot. And
whatever.
Well, I'm looking at all of it, you know.
No, I totally agree. Like, that is a fault of this movie, and that's why it's not a perfect movie.
It isn't. That's why for my rating, I gave it a 4 stars.
Same here, buddy.
4 star. Nice.
4 stars. Yeah.
Yeah, this was fun.
I'm so delighted that I liked this. Like, I always am rooting for M. Night. He sort of has like that underdog thing going for him at all times because of like, you know, how mocked he's been. And I do kind of go into M. Night movies with like, I kind of want to like it. I kind of want to like it no matter what, you know, because I just like the guy.
Yeah.
And I was so delighted that like halfway through this movie, I like was able to turn to my girlfriend and genuinely say, I love this, you know, like without me having to like fake it. I was just like, I know I straight up like what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, it was a great time. It was the original ass concept. Like, I like the last few weeks, I've just been riding this slasher high, and to me, the beach was a killer.
It was a
for the most part.
Yep.
That's why, honestly, if the ending would have been stronger, I was really close giving this 4.5.
Same here. Yeah.
Really, but the whole human twist, and I don't know.
Yeah. It's all whatever. I agree.
Do you have just real quick, this little mini thing? Do you have a favorite character in Old?
Oh, that's a good question. Honestly,
there's a lot.
I think it might have been Rufus Sewell. I really liked him in Old. I think he's really good in the movie. Yeah,
I'm going with Vicky Krieps.
She rules.
That she's just too good as that old lady.
She's so good in the final act of the movie. So gentle and like just sweet and looking happy, whatever. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. So
what a good movie.
All right. That puts a bow on Old.
And on M. Night.
On M. Night. M. Night is official. Season 3 is officially done.
Yeah, it's all done. We're all done with M. Night.
All done with M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, it was a fun, bumpy ride.
Yeah, it was pretty bumpy at times, but overall, I think it was a pretty good season.
It was a fun season, definitely. Just, there's that little dip, and then we came back strong. I think Old is a good movie, so
I have to agree. I think
I'm happy we ended on Old, and I'm glad that we went to the beach.
Went to the beach, and now he's got his next movie already being written.
Yeah,
finished.
It's written. He just got a green lit and everything. It's called Knock at the Cabin, and it's starring Dave Bautista. Which, sure, sounds good. Sign me up.
Why not? Sounds like maybe a little scary. Cabins are usually scary.
I mean, Knock at the Cabin. What does that tell me? Like he's gonna make his mark on cabin horror. I feel like that's a specific genre, like Evil Dead. Just like Cabin in the Woods. Cabin horror is a thing.
So right off the bat, you think Batista's going to be the bad guy, some killer?
No, he's probably going to. No, I don't think so. I don't know what it's going to be. Obviously, we don't know yet.
No, we're speculating right now.
Knock at the Cabin. What is that? That's very evocative. Like you say, knock at the cabin, and I'm like, that's a bad thing. Like when someone knocks on the cabin door, that's not a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing, and it's even a worse thing when it's Dave Bautista.
That's true. Your cabin door. You open the door and he gives you the Bautista bomb. You're in fucking trouble.
Yeah, no, we don't want that. Although maybe I do. Maybe I want that.
I would love that. Honestly, I love Bautista. He's a fantastic actor, and I'm very excited for this new movie.
He keeps getting better and better.
He really does.
Well, out of the three, the three that are kind of lifted from wrestling, obviously The Rock, Cena's made his mark in a couple movies now.
Sure, yeah.
And Batista.
Batista's the actor of the three.
Right. And I think
incredible.
I forget which one of the other two. Maybe it was Cena.
We talked about this, I think, in an episode where
did.
Cena was like, because Cena was like, someone asked him like Batista. Someone asked Batista, like, you want to do like a movie with like The Rock or John Cena? And he's like, no, I'm a real actor. Yeah. And Cena was like, yeah, no, he's right, which is great. I love that.
Yeah, well, I think, it was Cena. He was like, no, he's really worked hard on his craft. And you see it in some of his roles, like
I love him.
Blade Runner.
He's very good in Blade Runner. Yeah. Guardians. He's fucking great in Guardians.
Drax.
He's incredible in Guardians.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
But I think that's enough Batista talk.
Sure. Yeah, the movie hasn't even been shot yet. Okay, so we got some house cleaning to do before we wrap up this episode. So let's do our M. Night Shyamalan rankings. What do you say?
Oh boy. Before we even get into it, I want to say this. I went back and forth on so many of these. This was by far the most excruciating list I've had to make.
Really? Even harder than Nolan?
Easy.
Interesting, because this was very easy for me. So maybe I should go first because I can burn through it very confidently. And since you picked M. Night, you can have the final say.
Sure.
All right. So my M. Night Shyamalan ranking, there's 14 movies. I'm going to count down from 14. So in last place, not only in M. Night Shyamalan's ranking, but in the ranking of all cinema, is The Last Airbender, one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Oof.
Number 13, Lady in the Water. No, thank you. Number 12, Wide Awake. Pretty bad. Number 11, Praying with Anger. Somehow escaped the bottom 3, but I guess that's just a whatever. Number 10,
first surprise right there.
Oh, that it got so high up.
Yeah.
Well, I know where that's going to be for you then. Number 10, After Earth. Number 9, I would say those 5 right there. Last Airbender, Lady in the Water, Wide Awake, Praying with Anger, After Earth. All bad. Don't like them. Wouldn't want to watch them again.
Bad film.
The rest of his movies, pretty good. Here we go. Number 9, The Happening. Kind of like it, even though it's a total steaming pile of shit. Number 8, Split. Number 7, Glass.
Okay.
Number 6 is The Visit. And the top 5, these are all bangers for me. Number 5 is The Village. Number 4, Old. Fucking rules. Love it. Number 3, Signs. Number 2, The Sixth Sense. And of course, number 1, Unbreakable.
Okay.
That's my ranking. And
we do have a lot of the same.
Well, of course, they're all the same movies. It'd be weird if like number 10 for you was like Gravity by Alfonso Cuarón.
No, I'm saying the same ranking. Yeah, okay. No. Number 2, Bambi.
Sweet.
No, okay, here we go. Number 14, half star movie, the lowest I've given any movie on the podcast so far. I went on about this, and I don't think it should have been made. Praying with Anger.
Oh, you didn't like that one?
Not at all. Not one single bit.
Okay, gotcha.
Number 13, this is up a half point, 1 star, Lady in the Water.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah, we had that. We both have Lady in the Water at 13. Yeah, that's a really, really bad film. Number 12, also with a 1 star, The Last Airbender.
Or just true garbage.
Awful.
Yep.
Trash. Number 11, with a 1.5 stars, After Earth.
Okay. Yep.
Number 10, 1.5 stars. The Happening. Surprising.
A lot of garbage for you then. You're just because I think the only time I went below 2 stars was for like 3 of the movies, and it seems like you've got like 4 or 5 that are all below 2 stars.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about that in that episode. When I first saw The Happening, I gave it a 2.5. This time,
that's right. You dropped it, and I went up.
Yeah, a whole point down, 1.5 for The Happening at the 10th spot. So this is the first shocker on my list. Number 9, 2-star movie, Wide Awake, the Rosie O'Donnell classic.
Made it up high. Made it into the top 10.
Yeah, very interesting. I was shocked that I put it there, but there it is.
Hey, it is what it is.
Number 8. This is the 8th ranked film. I gave it 3 stars. Glass.
Okay. Yep.
Number 7. This is also a 3-star movie. I decided between these two. This was a no-brainer for me. This is The Visit.
Okay. I had a little higher than you, I think. Okay.
Yeah. Number 6, 3.5 stars. This was Split.
Yep.
Okay. Number 5, the first 4-star movie on here was The Village.
Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Number 4, another 4-star movie, Old, same as you.
You love to see it.
Yeah, Old.
I love that. I love that Old's in the fucking top 4. It's a great movie.
It was a great movie. Now, here's the thing about The Village and Old. I both give them 4 stars. Will Old not have the lasting power? Because right now it's kind of fresh for me. It's his newest one. Maybe that'll wear down in years in the future.
Possibly.
But right now, I'm hype about it.
I'm high on it. Yep.
Yeah. We have obviously the same top three, not in the right order. In third place. Now these are the three that I was literally staring at these three titles. I couldn't
figure out what to do with them.
All three of these movies have huge highs, and I see faults with all three of them. But in the end, I just had to just go with it, and I went with the saddest movie at number 3, Unbreakable.
Okay.
There's there's tons to love about this, but that's where I went. Number 2, we agree with The Sixth Sense.
Wow.
And number 1, Signs.
I'm shocked.
I'm telling you,
you loved Signs. Yeah, you were high as fuck on Signs.
I love Signs. It is that overwhelming eeriness to it. All three, like I said, all three movies I think I had at 1.
Yeah.
But
for me, it was between The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable that I was really struggling with. But Unbreakable is just a preference thing. So I get it.
And that's fine. I think Signs might be a preference thing with me too, because if you can only show, someone that had never seen any of these movies, you're going to show them The Sixth Sense because it's one of the all-time cinematic twists.
You have to. Yeah, exactly. It's one of the most important movies, right?
And the whole time I'm thinking, oh God, how do I not give Toni Collette the number 1 spot?
She's got to be like the best character he's written, right? Like,
oh man, there's so many about all three of these movies. He has different things that shine about him, and the stakes are high with all three. Like one, you got world-ending aliens. The other, you got superheroes.
And a divorce, a pending divorce.
Yeah, no, that's traumatic. And then the other one is The Dead Walk Among Us. These are all, man. He's just those three movies. If you were to,
it's a good run. It's a really good 3-movie run.
Yeah.
All right,
cool. Didn't you give one of them a 5-star? Was that Unbreakable?
I gave Unbreakable and Sixth Sense both 5 stars.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, those are bangers. Okay. I think it's time to announce season 3.
Season 4.
4. You're right. We're not going to do M. Night Shyamalan again. I promise. We're not just going to do the whole season again.
No, as much as I had fun, I can't. There's that little rough spot.
It's rough. I know. It's a tough start, and then you got that little dip, and it's not good. Okay, well then we will announce season 4 right now. It's my turn to pick a director.
It is your turn.
It's my turn. I'm taking.
Who are you going with?
Okay, so the whole theory about the whole philosophy behind me picking this director is when we did Christopher Nolan, Paul Thomas Anderson, and M. Night Shyamalan, I had already seen all of their movies. Mm-hmm. None of these movies are new to me.
Right.
I'm bored.
You are bored. You want to mix it up.
I do want to mix it up. And I think you at some point, and we were talking about this at some point, and you were like, well, that's a problem because you've seen everyone's fucking movies.
Right.
I was like, no, come on. There's got to be some people.
Yes.
I do. I go a little bit hard. I pick a director and I'm like, this is homework now. And I just do all of it. And yeah. So I was like, no, that's not true. And then I looked at our list of directors that we have and I was like, oh, I've seen pretty much every one of these movies. So maybe Brent was right. This is kind of tough. And then it dawned on me that I think I had a perfect pick. So what I did was I chose a guy whose movies I've seen, the highlights, but maybe not everything.
Sure.
And I think you like him a little bit more than I do, or at least you're more familiar with him, or you're more in the paint for him. I don't know. We'll find out in this season. We're going to see how you feel about him. But
kind of like how I threw you the rock for M. Night a little bit.
A little bit, yes. You said M. Night, and I was like, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
So we're going to do our first 2-part season because this guy's got such a long filmography. I don't want to dwell on it for a full year.
Sure.
So we're going to do Ridley Scott. We're doing Ridley
Scott. Okay.
Yes. Pretty big one, right?
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, you and I have talked about this quite a bit.
You were right about him kind of being in my sweet zone, my comfort spot.
It feels like, when you look at his filmography, a lot of the movies scream Brent to me.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's very exciting. So what we're going to do for this season, since he's got such a long filmography, is we're going to cover all of his 20th century movies. Everything from his debut, The Duelists, all the way up until Gladiator, where he wins Best Picture. So that's going to be the full
like
season.
A good spot to slice it.
Really, it's a clean cut because it's right at 2000. So it's like we're going to cover all of his 20th century films up till he wins Best Picture, and then we're going to take probably 2 or 3 probably like 3 seasons before we come back and finish him. Right.
So we'll call it Ridley Scott Part 1.
Part 1.
Okay. How many movies is in this part, by the way?
I can count them out really quick. I want to say it's about It's like 10 to 12.
Sounds.
I think it's a little bit shorter than
par for our
what we just did. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And we'll obviously come back and do his second half, the second half of his career later, probably like 3 seasons from now, and that's going to be a bit longer. But we're just going to roll into it. It's going to be really fun.
Well, I can't wait. I've told you many times before how important the Alien franchise is to me. So
yes,
we do get one of those in there.
We're starting it off.
Yep, very excited about that.
It's 11 movies.
That's perfect. What Paul Thomas Anderson was 8. Nolan was 11.
And this was 14.
M. Night was 14. So this is also
11. And I want to make a promise to the audience right now. Our first season was on essentially the biggest modern filmmaker out there, Christopher Nolan, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
Our second season was on Paul Thomas Anderson, who's like one of the, he's essentially like, he's one of the like most well-known auteurs out there. And then we just did a season on M. Night Shyamalan, who's a very crowd pleasing. And then M. Night Shyamalan. No, but he's a very crowd pleasing, like, populist filmmaker.
And now we're doing like a roller coaster.
Yes. And now we're doing Ridley Scott, who is also very blockbuster, popular filmmaker. Yes. I don't know what Brent's planning on for season 5. I'm not going to push him one way or the other, but I want to make a promise to the audience that after this pick for me, I'm going to start getting weird after this, just so you guys know. I'm not picking any more fucking bland, like normal, just popular. It's not going to be popular, like normal shit. I'm going to get weird after this.
Okay. Well, I don't know if our audience wants that, but
I don't
they're
care.
Gonna get it.
Yeah, that's what I want. We're going to start covering some women. We're going to start covering some real freaks. That's a promise.
I do have
because women and real freaks, those go hand in hand,
like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
I do have a small inclination for who I might be choosing for season 5. But that's a long ways out.
It's a long ways away.
Yeah. So we're not going to worry about that right now. We are going to get excited for Ridley Scott.
Oh my
God.
You stoked? You seem kind of stoked.
I the more I think about it,
in 2 episodes, we get to do an episode on Alien.
I'm gonna lose my mind.
Pretty big movie. So yeah. And then like right after that, it's like Blade Runner. Like
feed me.
We're gonna have some fun. And I'm excited to do something before 1998. Like we're going back to the 70s. It's exciting stuff. All right. Well, any final thoughts on M. Night? Thank you so much, M. Night. I'm always rooting for you, little guy.
Probably by the time we are, I don't know, maybe in the midst of next season, one of his newer movies will come out.
Yeah.
And, we're going to do like just a little side episode here and there. I know Paul Thomas Anderson, his Licorice Pizza is coming out in the future.
No, not in the future. It's out. And that's going to be the next episode. Before we get to Ridley Scott, we're going to record our Licorice Pizza episode. And
since this is on the old episode,
right, our next episode is going to be Licorice Pizza.
Well, it's not. When we were recording old, it wasn't out yet. So I was kind of playing into the future of it.
Oh, yeah. I don't give a shit. We recorded this way after the rest of the episode. Who gives a shit?
Well, okay. I just
I don't
made
know.
A couple prompts like you were trying to continue it, and it's just like
that was just more for a smooth transition. Our next
transition's out the window, so
it's gone. We ruined it. Well, I ruined it. You were doing okay.
I was going with it. Okay, so Licorice Pizza's out. We're going to be doing a little side episode.
Our next episode will be on Licorice Pizza, and then after that, we're going to start up season 5. I can't believe we four. I'm an idiot. Season 4. With Ridley Scott's debut, The Duelists, starring Harvey Keitel and Keith Carradine. So
I like both them. So excited for that.
I'm very excited for it. I've never seen it, and that's exactly why I picked Ridley Scott, because like I want to see some shit I haven't seen and have some fresh views.
Sounds great to me. I want to thank everyone for sticking with us and listening to this season, listening to us in general. If you have any thoughts or anything you want to comment, please do. We'll read it on the air. Just thanks again.
Yeah.
And subscribe, like, comment, subscribe, whatever.
Thank you so much.
Do your little outro. Tell us where we're at. Where they can find us.
I can tell them exactly where to find us.
Where do they find us?
I'm currently in a hotel in Lima, Ohio.
Okay, well,
Brent is in. You can find us on Instagram at Film School Dropouts Pod and on Twitter at film_school_pod. We're also on Facebook. You can like us, subscribe to us, follow us, review us on all your podcast apps, whatever. And I guess, yeah, that's it. We're done with M. Night. In our next episodes, we're catching up with PTA, and then we're diving into Ridley Scott, and I'm very excited.
Sounds good.
All right. My name is James.
I'm Brent.
And we will see you soon.
See you.